And when they open the restaurant, they have no money for marketing. They have no money to advertise their business, and they're already running on the red. And it's not, sometimes a lot of people underfund and
Yeah.
underestimate the reality of what it costs to put a place together
Yeah.
and have it working for, I don't know, 6 months at least, that you're not going crazy looking for funding after you open the restaurant.
Welcome to the Restaurant Leaders Unplugged podcast, where real talks with restaurant leaders take center stage. Discover the challenges and victories that define success in the culinary world. Dive into essential strategies from marketing to operations and gain insights that will transform your approach to your restaurant business. Don't just keep up, lead the way. Join me, your host, Sebastian Stahl, on this journey to excellence. Jimmy, welcome to the Restaurant Leaders Unplugged podcast. It's really a pleasure, more than a pleasure to have you here, Jimmy. We've known each other for a long time, and so I'm really excited to dive into your story. Again, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invite. Nice to see you.
Yes. All right, Jimmy. So let's start from the beginning. You have quite a journey, Jimmy. Again, we've known each other for years. I don't know how long it's been. You're one of the old school people in Miami, the restaurateurs in Miami, from Miami for a long time. Take us back, man, when you first started, and how did it start for you in your journey in hospitality?
I was in the restaurant business for a little bit over 37 years. It all started in
Mm,
Puerto Rico. That's where I'm originally from. And it started as a college job, washing dishes.
mm,
And right after high school, went into working in a really nice restaurant called the Chart House.
mm,
Back then, it was very well known in Puerto Rico and throughout the States, steakhouse, American steakhouse. And started with them. And that became from a dishwasher to a busboy to a cocktail waiter to a waiter to a
mm.
little bit in the kitchen and learning a little bit more different areas in the restaurant. Still going to college and studying accounting. I wouldn't, at that point, I would have never thought that was going to be part of my career or my career. And little by little, I got the taste of it and I liked it more and more and more. And I ended up having an interest in moving from Puerto Rico to Miami. So actually, the Chart House had a restaurant in Coconut Grove,
Yeah.
and they transferred me over there. So I went to college in Miami also and kept on working at the Chart House. And from there, I looked, I've been in Miami, different opportunities. This is back in the 80s, and went from there to work in a five-star hotel, which was actually the only five-star hotel at that time in Miami. It was called the Grand Bay Hotel.
Yeah.
And the Grand Bay Hotel was in Coconut Grove, also right across the street from the Chart House, and that was a big difference coming from American Steakhouse to a five-star property.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Got to learn a lot for service. It was actually at that time working in front of the house, and back then it was a four-man team that they called it. It was a captain, a front waiter, a back waiter, a busboy. So it was four people working big station of the restaurant with table side service, deboning fish, flambeing, doing Caesar salad table side, all these types of fancy stuff. And there I actually started kind of like liking it a little bit more and more. And from there I went to work at Monty's in Coconut Grove also. Always staying in the Coconut Grove area. And there
It's the hot place back in the day.
it was.
It's hot again, but yeah.
It was. It is. It is. It's a great area. From there on, I worked in different restaurants and went to culinary school, graduated from Johnson and Wales University in Miami in the early 90s. And so from accounting to culinary, big change. So it became my career because I really enjoyed it. I got trained in different restaurants on different positions as manager, back of the house and all that. So I really was very lucky to work in great companies, great mentors, wonderful people that I worked with back then. It was a little bit different so for what it is right now. But from there on, I went to work for corporate America with
Mm.
the prime steakhouses and the big chains and as an executive chef running big big restaurants, big volume, big numbers,
Mm.
high price ticket items. So did all that for many years, and until I think the majority of chefs, what's their dream? They want their own restaurant, and that's where Jimmy's Kitchen started.
Yeah.
with the idea
Good.
of Jimmy's
Good.
Kitchen. And that's where we met in my second restaurant. My first restaurant
Right.
was in Miami Beach.
Yeah.
My first restaurant was 25 square feet place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was,
Great spot, man.
yeah, great spot right in South Beach.
Yeah.
We created a pretty healthy menu, chef driven, nothing fancy, straightforward, good food, good product. Everything was a scratch kitchen. We made everything from scratch, fresh,
Mm.
great product. And we were feeding everybody in South Beach when in fact there wasn't even Uber,
Right.
Grubhub, or any of that stuff. I had
I
my
remember.
own delivery guys out there with their scooters.
I remember.
5
Yeah.
guys zipping around South Beach doing deliveries everywhere to all the
Yeah.
hotels, all the apartments over there.
Yeah.
And that's how Jimmy's Kitchen came about, from that little base to 4 more
Yeah.
restaurants, total of
Yeah.
5 restaurants.
No, it was, I remember that, Jimmy. I think you were ahead of your time in many regards in terms of creating a chef inspired fast casual restaurant, because that's what Jimmy's was. But
Right.
it's also like I think you brought a lot of your heritage in your menu, because you made it popular, because that,
Yeah.
mofongo, which is like very Puerto Rican, you had some Americans getting that stuff all the time.
Some sabor. We had some sabor, which is we called it. Yeah, Jimmy's Kitchen menu, like you're saying, was a healthy driven menu, chef driven, with its healthy side and also its Latin side, which was the mofongo. Growing up in Puerto Rico, mofongo was a very popular dish.
Yeah.
There was very few people doing it in Miami or in the States. People didn't even know about it. And
Yeah.
we started, I'll tell you about mofongo. It's funny. It started as a 1-day thing. So it was mofongo Fridays. Okay. So we only did mofongo. Mofongo, it's an elaborate dish. You have to do it a la minute. Got to be cooked at that same minute. You cook it. Fry the plantains.
Yeah.
Mash them in a mortar and pestle. And you season them up with the garlic, the chicharron, a little bit of chicken stock and all that. You serve with different proteins, but it's got to be made right there and eaten right there. That's just the best way to eat mofongo. So we started making it 1 day, and that became this boom. And we came out of the Miami Herald, and everybody knew that. And we have the 16 feet, not table, 16 chair restaurant. It packed. It was crazy. We had no beer, no alcohol. Everybody would bring their beer and alcohol, and everybody wanted mofongo. That's how the mofongo craze started.
It was a great mofongo, Jimmy. I still crave it sometimes, my friend. So, Jimmy, listen, for many people, especially the new people and getting into the industry now, they romanticize the restaurant industry as being glamorous or fun or all this stuff. It may have a little bit of that. But looking back, what were some of the toughest moments in running Jimmy's Kitchen and in your restaurants, Jimmy?
I think that one of the biggest challenges I had to start with was how to capitalize my business. Okay. Again, you have this idea of coming from a restaurant or a chef background and not being a small business owner, but yes, you know how to run a business for somebody else, but doing it for yourself and capitalizing that, it's a whole big difference. And I learned a lot from that. Basically, I funded myself, but I underfunded myself, to be honest with you. And I realized that after opening. That's something that I learned, but I pretty much grabbed it by the horns and just took care of business. But it was not easy. I would say that was my first hurdle. And then after that, I would say capitalizing all the other restaurants, keeping that conversation, the capitalization, the funding of the business throughout the expansion of the business to my second restaurant, to my third restaurant, to my fourth and my fifth. I pretty much capitalized everything with minimal investment, outside investment. I pretty much saved all my money and reinvested it in my business. Not an easy thing to do. Not an easy thing to do. So I would say that was one of my biggest hurdles, to be honest with you. There was plenty more, believe me. But that was one of my biggest hurdles.
Dealing with landlords, Jimmy, that's a big hurdle.
Yeah, we can have a whole podcast about that. And actually now believe it or not, what do I do now? I deal with a lot of, I've always dealt with a lot of landlords, but now in my current career as a
Yeah.
restaurant broker, there's a
Yeah.
lot of dealings with landlords.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. But Jimmy, so again, for our audience that are listening, that again, some of them may be just starting out, or maybe they have one, or maybe they have 2 units, and they're still thinking of scaling. So, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned in scaling a restaurant that you would like to share?
Yeah, I would say one of the first things that you want to have is people. Who are your people? Who is
Mm.
your main? How do you divide the tiers of the people that work in your business, okay, or for your business, and how well organized you are? What kind of SOPs you have in place that will be easy to translate into future businesses, and how I think one of the biggest things is the organization, how to be organized with your business in order to scale the combination of obviously the finance part of it and the operation aspect of it. It
Mm.
goes hand in hand with that. I would say without people, it's impossible to scale and to
Yeah.
have a system that you can have these wonderful people trained
Right.
and to understand what the culture and what the goal is for the business overall.
Because one thing that you and I know this, and I think a lot of restaurant people know this, especially when they're starting out, chef-driven concepts. You fall in love with the food, you fall in love with the creativity, but running a business is a complete different animal. And you just mentioned it. You're talking about systems, you're talking about processes, you're talking about people, you're talking about, again, all these things that are not sexy or fun, mind you. It's like learning a different language, if you may, especially for chefs, because they're not
Right.
usually business people. So you were coming from being a chef and then transitioning into the business. So what are some of the biggest like shift that you had to make, like mind shift that you had to make when you say, okay, I got the recipes, I got the menu, I got the stuff up, man, I need to get this thing in order to make it work
And make money and be
and
profitable,
make money.
right? At the end of
Yeah.
the day, it's a business, right? It's a
Right.
wonderful business to be in, and it's a business that we're passionate about. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and that's a big disconnect sometimes that chefs don't understand that transition from being a chef to a business owner and those
Mm.
wonderful creativity and all that. That's just great. But how do you translate that into being profitable as a business and being
Mhm.
sustainable, self-sustainable, and you can actually have a business, okay?
Right.
Not just an idea and a concept of I think that I learned throughout opening from my first opening week to year and so on until the end of the almost 17 years that I had my restaurants. I was always learning. And
Mhm.
again, it's times changes and you got to change with times and the flavors change, people change, the areas change and all that. I think that you have to adapt through all that and try to mold yourself and work throughout all that time, understanding at the end of the day, it is a business. And yeah, you got to change things around, be innovative. And like one of the things that we did a lot was chef specials every day. And
Mhm.
that was a way of us knowing what worked and what did not work. Okay.
Yeah.
And we get the feedback, immediate feedback from the customer. They loved it. They raved about it. Or they were like, not so great. So
Mm.
we knew how to switch around our menu. And that took time. That's not a one day to another kind of
Mm.
thing. Takes time, takes effort, and you got to get a lot of feedback from it.
100%, Jimmy. I think what you're talking about again is humility and patience. And as a business owner, if you don't have those qualities, they will be drilled into
You'll
because of
learn them.
experience will show you. You'll learn them at some point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the way around it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. We just keep learning. So, Jimmy, you talked about now you have transitioned out of the restaurant business. I know you were in it for a very long time, but now you're actually working in commercial real estate with restaurants. And I think have a very unique experience, which allows you to help other restaurateurs in finding, not only finding a great space, but with all your knowledge. Can you share a little bit with us about your transition and what you're doing now to help restaurateurs?
it came to a point about a couple of years ago after the COVID and all that. I made a decision, which was not easy, that after 37 years, I wanted to get out of the operations aspect of the business and being an owner, a restaurant owner and all that. And what do you do? What's next? I don't want to get back in the kitchen, being a chef or anything like that. And what do you do? How do you transition into something that I still would have interest, a passion for it? Learning throughout the time, opening all my businesses and how lucky I was throughout my career as a chef, working with all these companies. I was lucky enough to open a lot of restaurants for these bigger companies. So I was involved in doing all that. And I used that for my own businesses. Now what I can do is help people either, number one, look for expansion. I help them throughout their expansion, look for location, full build out, second generation locations, all that kind of stuff. And the other thing is how to evaluate a business and sell it. Somebody that wants, like me, wants to get out of the business. Either they want to get out and they want to cash out. They're looking for an exit strategy, right? And how to evaluate that, how to manage evaluations. So I found out throughout my whole career, looking for restaurants, selling my restaurants and all that, that there was a little bit of a disconnect from a commercial real estate agent in the industry, restaurant owner and industry people, restaurant industry people. That big disconnect, I saw an opportunity there. So that's where I dove into going into the restaurant brokerage. First of all, you got to have a commercial real estate license. Second part of it is being a business broker and understand business brokerage, financial reading statements and all that. And then diving deeper into restaurant brokerage. So it's three different tiers. It's very specialized. Okay. There is, for somebody to be doing this, they really got to understand foot, grease straps, labor cost. It's a big world, as you very well know, and all the parts that the restaurant industry has or restaurant business has. And understanding that, I can have a conversation. I can speak the same language to a restaurant owner or to a restaurant group about their business. Okay. And what makes sense for them and what doesn't make sense for them. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball for everything. I don't have an answer for everything, but I have a little bit of understanding throughout 37 years of my career and how to help them.
Oh yeah, Jimmy, I think your experience is pretty unique. And again, speaking the same language I think it's key. I think also in building trust, right? And if a restaurateur is trying to find a space and with all your knowledge and understanding everything about the space and equipment and everything, it can be extremely helpful.
It's a big investment. It's opening a restaurant. So it's a huge investment. It's a huge risk.
It is. Yeah.
How to mitigate that risk to the best way.
It definitely. And so location is crucial still, Jimmy, for any restaurant. What are the biggest mistakes that you see restaurant owners make when choosing a space?
Oh my God. I think there's so many. I think location is a big one, but again, that's a big conversation, location. Okay. Let's talk about Wynwood. Okay. My second restaurant. I was right in front of your restaurant. Who would have thought that Wynwood would be what it is right now back in 2009, 2010? No, about $17 a square foot. What's a square foot going for in Wynwood right now?
Probably 120.
120, 140, 130, $17 a square foot. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, back then, everybody would go, "You're crazy, Jimmy, going to Wynwood." I was just, what was the first two restaurants I opened was Joey's and Wynwood Kitchen and Bar. I opened a week after Wynwood Kitchen and Bar. I was the third restaurant that opened in Wynwood.
You had a great deal, man. We had 37, not 17.
Who would have thought that, again, coming back to location, who would have thought that location would, at that time, everybody thought that I was crazy. Now it's like the place to be at. So again, I don't know. Sometimes you got to take a risk. Location, you're going to pay for that. obviously. But again, if you can be in not a great location and have an amazing concept and
Hmm.
amazing marketing,
Yeah.
that could work, but it won't work for everybody though.
No, that's been my experience too, Jimmy. You know this, but product market fit, I think it's what you need to look at, because I think in your case, your restaurant was the perfect fit for the location. You know what I mean? Again, product market fit. If you have those two things, you can get away with not the best location ever, but so you can get away with that. And yes, marketing, but it's always risky. And assessing that at the beginning, understanding if there's a product market fit, that sometimes can be very difficult. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, absolutely. The other thing is that people like I did it myself. They underfund their businesses, and they go in deep into the chair that's got this.
Mhm.
And when they open the restaurant, they have no money for marketing. They have
Right.
no money to advertise their business, and they're already running on the red. And it's not, sometimes a lot of people underfund and
Yeah.
underestimate the reality of what it costs to put a place together
Yeah.
and have it working for, I don't know, 6 months at least, that you're not going crazy looking for funding after you open the restaurant. The last thing you want to do.
Oh, I do know. I do know. You learned the hard way. Completely underfunded. We had no idea how much what to expect, and until you go through it, and once you start bleeding money, that can go really quick. You
Very
know,
quick.
so you
Very
got to
quick.
have a plan. You really have a plan in place
Yeah.
before you get started, and that's why I think people like you are extremely valuable to, especially for people starting out, even to seasoned restaurateurs looking for, for spaces and advice. So, Jimmy, now you're in Atlanta now. So, what do you think? You're experiencing different markets. What do you see that the biggest differences are between those markets like Miami and Atlanta? They're both hot. Atlanta's growing like crazy. But what are you seeing?
Myself, I've been here in Atlanta for Miami about 5 years already, and Atlanta's a booming market. It is crazy booming. And in a way or another, I see what Miami was back in the 2000s, the early
Hmm.
2000s, and the way that it boomed. Obviously, in the 90s, Miami boomed a lot, but the 2000s was a big push for Miami throughout the 2000s into 2010 and on. And I see that here in Atlanta. I see there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of investment coming into the city of Atlanta. Totally two different markets from Miami to Atlanta, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's what I kind of like about Atlanta. It's a big, small city at the same
Mm.
time. Also, it's a bigger city than Miami, but at the same time, I don't know. It feels like
In a small town.
it's more spread out. It's more spread
Yeah.
out. Atlanta's more spread out, but there's a lot of opportunity here. Big companies coming in. There's big projects going on. What they call here is the inside the perimeter and outside the perimeter, which is it's like the in 75 and 85, I-75, the interstate. And
Hmm.
inside is basically the metro area of Atlanta. And outside the perimeter, it's the north and south side of the city. But that inside the perimeter, booming.
It's interesting, Jimmy. That's it. So is it, I'm assuming the costs are a little bit less than Miami just because of the nature of the city.
It is much
Yeah.
less. It's not cheap,
Yeah.
but it's definitely cheaper. To do
Yeah.
business here, it's a little bit more affordable. Those rents that you get in Miami that are $120, $140, Design District, Wynwood, South Beach, Lincoln Road, those rents you can find them here, but very
Mm.
scarcely in very specific areas.
Mm.
Not a lot of that square footage going on here. Your medium square footage here is going to be anywhere from the $30 to $60 kind of range, affordable.
Yeah.
One of the good things I'll throw that in is that that in Miami you do pay for sales tax on your rent, on your monthly rent.
Yeah.
So that's something that you don't do that here. They don't do that here in Georgia. So that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Liquor licenses are a little bit easier
Yeah.
to get. They're a little bit easier now in Florida and Miami since they changed all the laws and all that. The 2,500 square feet and up spaces that can get their like liquor license a little bit easier. Before, those liquor licenses were going
Mm.
200,000, 150,000, 500,000, depending on the areas. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little bit more affordable to do business here
Mm.
in Atlanta.
Yeah, listen, I think just being in Miami for so long and seeing how it's changed so much, I think Miami is one of the most difficult markets. I would definitely be looking at cities like Atlanta and other cities that are mid markets, which could be a lot more profitable than opening on the main cities like Miami.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Jimmy, we're seeing a lot of changes in the industry lately. And I'm sure you're keeping up with all the stuff because you're talking to restaurant owners all the time and you have, again, a ton of experience. What's your take on all this stuff that's happening, Jimmy? High labor costs, it's just going to get higher. Then food costs are still crazy. Now with the tariffs that might come into place, that's even going to go higher. What's your take on all this stuff?
One of the reasons I got out of the business because you either change with it or you don't. I didn't want
Mhm.
to change with it. I see it. It's very tough for business owners out there. The discretionary income, as I see it, not only throughout the US, is not the same that it was maybe 6 years ago or 10 years ago. Just because of inflation right now, that discretionary income is really tight. So, how many
Mhm.
people translates to the masses of people are how often are they going out to eat and all that? The labor aspect of it, again, you have to keep up with the times and pay people what living wages are. There's no way around that. And it
Mhm.
just comes with the territory. It's part of the doing business. And it's part right now of it's unfortunately things have inflated in such a way in the rate that it has and everything together at the same time. So you got the food, like you mentioned, food, labor, all these things, and overhead costs and all those things, everything together. So what are the profit margins? What's the EBITDA? What's the EBITDA
Mhm.
going on? And what's those profit margins for the restaurants right now? They're slimmer and slimmer every time. So it becomes more challenging. You have to be on top of everything. Those high profit margins that you saw 10, 15 years ago. Maybe some concepts might be doing those
Pull that out.
high profit margins, but not the majority. Not
Mm.
the majority of people are doing those profit margins. I hear it every day. I talk to a lot of people, and why do they want to sell their restaurants? And that's the main reason that they're working more to make less. That's the
Mm.
answer that I get 90% of the time. Obviously, there's
Mm.
people retiring. Obviously, there's people that have health issues or whatever.
Yeah.
90% of the time of my conversations are I'm working more to make less, especially the
Mm.
seasoned people that have been doing this for years. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough change and transition also that I think restaurants are going through. But what we're seeing, and I think we're very creative people. I think we're going to evolve with times. We're going to figure it out regardless. There's
Yeah.
still going to be people who want to go out to eat. There's still people wanting to have those experiences. Like, I don't think it's going anywhere. You know what I mean?
No,
But the model of what we used to know is already changing and it's going to continue to change. Technology is playing a big part of it. I think streamlined menus are playing a big part of it. Just less and stuff, just really niche and focused on like very few things, and then creating more experiences to add value in the bigger, like the full service restaurants. And it's just going to cost more, and
it is.
people are going to pay for those experiences or not, and then you're going to go to the other type of restaurants.
Like you said, people are still going to go out. So that's a given. So it's not,
Yeah,
so the business is going to be there. It's like people need to adapt to that.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff going out there with tech technology that
Very
we're
cool.
seeing. Yeah, AI is coming in strong. I don't know if you've heard of some platforms that are coming out. Maitre D is one of them that we like and we see for online for ordering, voice ordering, and just doing all this cool stuff. And so I think that's gonna
That
change a
voice
lot of
ordering is
things.
amazing. I was dealing with somebody that was doing that, and I'm looking at the whole concept of it, and I'm thinking back in the days when we're picking up phones, hitting flash, and three lines going at the same time because there was no platforms, no Uber, no nothing. You're picking up phones. There's no order
Mhm.
online. There's nothing like that. So
Mm.
I was looking at that. I'm like, could you imagine if I had that 20 years ago? That AI.
Yeah,
Oh my God. That would have been a game changer.
100%, Jimmy,
Oh my
100%.
God.
So, Jimmy, if you could go back and give advice to yourself when you were opening your first restaurant, what would it be?
I would say more patient. Okay. Listen more to my customer. Okay. I would say take the risk. You have to take the risk, because if you don't take the risk and whatever it is, business is about risk.
Mm.
But again, it's got to be calculated risk, but take the risk. I would say that I would have taken a little more risk that I did.
Mm. That's good advice. And with all the experience that you have in the restaurant business, Jimmy, of course, now you're still involved with it. What's next for you, Jimmy?
I really am enjoying what I'm doing right now because I'm still indirectly involved in the industry. I get to
Yeah.
meet the younger generations out there, the
Mm.
entrepreneurs, and it's great to see that. And being involved from the outside, it's
Mm.
cool. Be a little bit nerve wracking sometimes because you kind of feel like if I was involved in it, but it's really
Mm.
cool to see these new generations with their ideas and their concepts and
Yeah.
how they're putting things together. It's really cool to see that.
So you're basically also serving as a mentor for many of these guys that are coming in.
I've always said throughout my restaurants and all that, I always mentored a lot of people, a lot of my employees, as much as I can spread the love, all the mentorship that I got, that all the information that I've learned, I can pass it along. That's a great thing to do.
Yeah, no, I think it's a beautiful thing. I think the most rewarding thing is sharing what we know, Jimmy, is sharing of ourselves.
It is.
So, Jimmy, for anybody that's looking for a space, for restaurant space, and looking for advice and direction and finding the best spot in Atlanta, how can they get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with me through my phone number. My direct phone number is 305 788 8207. You can
Mhm.
find my listings and contact at our website, which is Jimmy Carey, commercialrealestate.com. Pretty easy. Jimmy Carey, my name, commercialrealestate.com. And you can check out our Instagram page, which is pretty cool. We talk a
Mm.
lot about what we have available and some tips about the restaurant industry and what things to look for when you're buying a restaurant or selling a restaurant. It's
Mm.
Jimmy's with a Z, commercial RE. That's Jimmy Z commercial RE. That's our handle in Instagram.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jimmy. And Jimmy, besides, of course, we're going to be sharing all the links here on the episode. We're going to have it on our site and all that stuff. Is what else can I do or we can do for you to help you in your journey?
Meet more people. So networking is a big part of it. We're actually going to a network right now, and we like to network with different kind of people. We're also, I'll give you another example. We're going to the NAFM. I don't know if you heard of the NAFM food show or restaurant show, and we're lucky enough that this year they're doing it here in Atlanta. We're going to be participating in that network. But network, send me some
Awesome.
people. I want to meet everybody.
Awesome. For sure, Jim, I can do that. I can make some intros to certain people. I'm not sure specifically in your area, but I'll make some intros that will definitely know some people in the area. So we'll make that happen.
Great.
Jimmy, thanks again for being on the show. Jimmy, it's really great to see you. And thank you for all your insights.
My pleasure, and thank you for the opportunity.